When you incorporate spirituality into your financial management, it's less about the strategy and more about how you feel about it. Because when you have resistance, when you have avoidance, or when financial management brings up trauma, it's not an area of life that you want to champion. So it kind of gets pushed to the side. So I think when you have more of a spiritual and holistic approach to financial management and your financial well-being, it's more about how you feel, because we want you to feel empowered by your finances. I want you to feel like it's not heady and it's not the strategy. The strategy actually doesn't matter. You can apply all sorts of different strategies, but if your mindset, your emotions, your energy is not in alignment with that, guarantee it's going to fail. So the spirituality is bringing the emotions, the energy, the alignment into place first. And then we apply the strategy, because then the strategy is actually not really that much and it's quite easy to navigate because you feel in alignment to what you're actually doing. And then you get to create more. You get to create more abundance. You get to create more security, safety. You get to create more support for yourself because you're feeling supported instead of feeling dumb, feeling wrong, feeling not smart, feeling like you don't understand it. You actually don't need an accounting degree to understand accounting. Accounting is easy. It's debits and credits, pluses and minus, ins and outs. That's it. So if you can add and subtract, job done. It really is simple. And I think in public traditional accounting approaches, they make it complex and confusing because they want you to be confused. They want you to be overwhelmed. They want you to be in fear. They want you to be in scarcity. In spiritual accounting, holistic financial management, the sky's the limit. I feel like sometimes we can fall into this pattern of the shiny object syndrome. And this is where there are a lot of people who have a very valid place in the market, share a lot around manifestation and abundance. If I can just think myself rich, if I can just vibrate high. And that takes into account the spiritual values and beliefs of financial management, but it doesn't take into account the practicalities of how are you actually going to call in that abundance. It's not sitting back and waiting for the universe to provide and deliver it into your lap. It's actually co-creation. So if I can be aligned to the values of high vibration, alignment, and soul value, and then I apply strategy on top of that, this is how your financial goals are going to be reached. This is how you're going to meet those targets. You have to have some level of strategy, but those strategies that you're implementing to create that wealth have to be in alignment with your personal values, your soul values. We want to manifest and we want to create. We're actually pushing what feels good for us, what's in alignment and true to us. And this is where I see a lot of people in the manifestation space that are just plonking strategy after strategy after strategy and nothing seems to work. And it's because you're actually plonking someone else's strategy onto your beliefs. So there is a bit of a disconnect there. So the more we can bring in your personal values, your soul values, the things you're good at, the things you love, the things that light you up, and focus less on what other people are telling you to do, then this is where you're really going to hone in on your own personal abundance. When we can align our spendings and savings to our soul value, this is more of an empowered place. It's not to say that you can't have those things or you can't do those things. It's like, instead of working on actual figures, we look at percentages. So then you work within the percentage of that. And if God has provided and the abundance is there, then obviously the spendings that you have are going to align with what you truly desire. It's actually about from the place that you're spending. I need to go and spend money to make myself feel good about something. And I even used to sit in this space of like, there was this emptiness inside of me that I would just constantly be spending and buying. And it was like really poor money habit. I didn't shift the habit, but I actually shifted the emotion attached to the habit. And then once I did that, the behavior changed. So we don't going, I need to change my behavior. I need to stop spending, because that's not going to work. You're going to revert back to old habits. What you need to do is look at the disempowered state, where it's coming from, the emotion that it's evoking, transmuting that emotion, which then in turn shifts the behavior. It's not to say I don't spend anymore, but instead of me spending from a disempowered state, I actually spend from an empowered state. Things that light me up, things that help me feel good. Now, I'm a Taurus. I'm very materialistic. I'm also very sensual, and everything is about my environment. So I like to spend money on my environment so that I feel good. And when I feel good in my environment, I can be more productive and I can show up. So it's not about me having things to fill the void, but it's having things so I feel empowered on a daily basis. I feel like people will focus on, like, they come into the place of manifestation and abundance and they're like, all right, I've got to write my gratitude diary and set the intentions of how much money I'm going to make. And it's like all these forced rituals that you have to do because you want more. And realistically, it's not about any of those things that you are doing, but it's about who I am. I don't go into a meditation, visualization, or intention setting process. It's like where your attention is focused on the end result, you're going wrong. We're not going to rely on the end result. What we have to rely on is core purpose, core vision, core passion, core beliefs, core values. And do what's good for you, what feels good. I'm all for the rituals, but you have to find what works for you at a really deep level. When we can bring the feeling to the surface and we feel abundant in the moment right now, not setting the intention of, I'm going to be abundant in the future. We have to feel it now. So I incorporate that because it brings me into the present moment. It brings me embodied. I'm in my body, and from that space, I become magnetic. It's actually, I'm just open to receive what God wants to give. On a spiritual financial plan and what that actually is. Because I think there's no set way, there's no set strategy. So your spiritual financial plan is less about what you're going to do and more about who you're going to be. And when you can understand who you are at a core level and you can express that to the world in a way that empowers you, that is your financial plan. What's one of the things that they say? If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Agreed. But we don't need this meticulous, like step-by-step strategy for the next 6 months to build your equity by 100%. I think there's a part of us where we're actually coming into more balance and harmony in the business space, where we have a framework, but then we can flow and be ourselves amongst it. And that's what creates. It's that co-creation. It's the positive and the negative, the plus and the minus, the light and the dark. And it's being able to weave ourselves amongst all of it. You can do that when you're focused on the inward. So your financial plan is in here. It's in your heart. Your heart will tell you. If your heart says, yes, I need to sing and dance and create abundance and feel the energy of it, go and do it. If your heart tells you, I need to write out a budget, track all my spending, because that's what your heart truly desires from an empowered place, go and do it. The spiritual financial plan isn't actually writing out your financial goals and then trying to achieve them. Your spiritual financial plan is looking at your own limitations and seeing where you can break through. You want to increase abundance in your life, you need to increase you. So this is where we look at our blocks, our limitations, the things that are holding us back. This is why we incorporate the holistic perspective, because it's not an outside source that is creating your successes or your failures. It's you, it's internal. So if you want to create more financial success in your life, you need to create more success in you. And how do we do that? We overcome our limitations. And most of the time, our limitations are unseen. It's in the unseen limitations, the ones that we actually don't want to dip our toes into. The limitation is sitting in the space that you're avoiding. The limitation is sitting in the space that you don't want to look at. It's the chakra you kind of just skim past. It's the wound that we don't need to worry about that. The thing that we think is not affecting our life is the thing that is affecting our life monumentally. When you're creating a spiritual financial plan that is in alignment with your beliefs and values, it comes back to the value of the service that you're giving, the value that you know yourself to be worthy of, but also the value of the people that you're serving, the demographic. It's actually having the niche of the people that you genuinely want to help, the people you genuinely want to serve. And sometimes that means your price point has to be in alignment with that niche to be in alignment with your soul. I don't want to be like this whole calling out energy or anything like that, but I do see a lot of people in the coaching space changing their niche because they want to make more money. And I just feel like that's not really an intention that we want to put out there, because we want to serve the people that your soul is naturally drawn to. And then your pricing is going to reflect that. So if you actually want to increase your profit margins and increase your abundance, it's not about changing your niche, but it's about changing your capacity and looking at how you're going to serve that niche in a wider scale. And I think when we can lead with love and lead with that legacy, that's where you're going to create more, because it's actually coming from the heart. And it's not coming from an unconscious desire for more money. If you really want to create more abundance in your life and you want to create more spiritual, financial well-being, we need to let go of the unconscious need for more money, because that is the very thing that is stopping you. That is the limitation. It's like we have been put onto this hamster wheel of an unconscious need for more money. This is the hamster wheel of the public sector. This is what we've been indoctrinated into since school. Because school didn't teach us about finances. School didn't teach us how to create. School didn't even teach us how to be entrepreneurs. They want you to just go into a job, be a slave to the system, do this, be a good girl, be a good boy, and you're on that hamster wheel. And there's just always this need for more, all these unmet desires. Because if you stay on that hamster wheel and you're constantly feeling disempowered by your money, having to owe the bank, having to owe the suppliers, having to owe the tax department, the cycle just will keep continuing. And then that cycle will get passed down to the next, to the next, to the next. And you're going to stay on that hamster wheel. And while we're on that hamster wheel, guess who gets richer? The rich get richer. This unconscious need for more money is because of that hamster wheel. And the way to overcome it is to actually step off this hamster wheel. And this is when you sit with yourself, you can start asking yourself powerful questions, because it's a pause. We're pausing. If you can just take a moment to assess your life, what is important to you? What is not important to you? And instead of making decisions for your life based around your financial well-being, make decisions for your life based around your spiritual well-being. When we're making financial decisions for ourselves, I hold this with so much responsibility, because changing your behavior with your finances can have ramifications. And when you're in a constant state of survival, living week to week to week to week, sometimes those big financial decisions will have a monumental impact. And I take that very seriously. So sometimes when we take ourselves off bird's eye view, what is soul sucking and then come up with a way. You don't have to take action on it immediately, but we have to progress. We have to work towards progress. Instead of basing the decisions for your life around your finances, we want to flip the switch. We actually want to base decisions around your life for your soul, and then the finance will sort itself out.